Hello and welcome back to Skyships. The hero of today's video can be called, without any modesty, an apogee of engineering mind in the civilian aircraft industry of the 20th century. One of the biggest, most beautiful and flawless airliners of all created, as well as in a short time, the flagship of the aircraft industry to the west of the Atlantic. Boeing 777, also known as 777. A family of wide-body long-haul airliners developed by Boeing in the 1990s. 777s are the proud owners of the title of the largest twin-engine aircraft in the world, and their engines deserve their own story. Another advantage of this airliner is that, unlike some predecessors, the Boeing 777 does not intend to go anywhere. On the contrary, it will reborn in the new generation. At the end of the 1970s, following the success of the Boeing 747, the Seattle company began updating its aircraft model line. As we already know, the result of this work were the models 757 and 767. These planes were great, but they were smaller than the offspring of Douglas and Lockheed. To fix this injustice, Boeing planned to create a three-engine aircraft similar to them in size. This was the first attempt to create the Boeing 777. The attempt failed. Model 757 and 767 were successful, but demanded a lot of attention. There was simply not enough resources for the creation of another large plane. However, by the end of the 1980s, the market of wide-body aircraft began to grow rapidly. In addition, some of the old models were leaving the market and they had to be replaced with something new. Something new was to be MD-11 and A330. Boeing also started the improvement of its 767s. Boeing 767 was the most aerodynamically effective wide-body airliner. However, this was achieved due to the narrowest fuselage in the class. Further growth in capacity of this aircraft required not only its extension, but also an increase of its width. In addition, a bigger and heavier plane needed a new wing. Also, they had to develop new avionics and apply new, more powerful engines. And then there was a question: what will remain of the old plane? It became obvious that the 767 is not good as a basis. In 1988, Boeing started the research to create a completely new airliner. In 1989, the company began to work with airlines to determine the shape of the future brand new Boeing 777. The large-scale innovations of this model began to appear long before its creation. For the first time, even at the stage of conception, Boeing gathered a large commission of representatives from 8 largest airlines from the US, Australia, Japan and the UK. This commission began to work quite actively and soon presented its requirements for the future model. So they wanted a plane with a fuselage almost as wide as the Boeing 747, with capacity of about 325 passengers, with the possibility of wide customization of interiors, the most advanced avionics and at least 10% economic advantage over competitors, the A330 and MD-11. The starting customer was United Airlines, which decided to purchase 34 airliners. Of course, this cooperation didn't end on concepts. Several hundred airline employees were working directly with Boeing during the development. In total, they presented over 1,500 additional requirements to the project. Obviously, such a project could not be managed by old methods. For the first time, all work had been developed fully in digital form. The Boeing 777 became the moment of triumph for the new computer-aided three-dimensional interactive application, or CATIA. CATIA is a French lady, the creation of the Dassault Systems. It allowed to create an almost complete virtual airliner and greatly simplified the design process, especially considering constant corrections from the airlines. The engines for the new airliner became a challenge for the industry leaders, Pratt & Whitney, General Electric and Rolls-Royce. Their task was impressive: to develop the most powerful engines in the world. The production site of the new aircraft was the plant in Everett, when the Boeing 747 and 767 were already being produced. Despite the fact that 747 remained the largest aircraft in the world, the new models was not much smaller. The company spent about $1.5 billion to create an assembly line and almost doubled the size of the plant. The assembly of the first aircraft began in 1993. On April 9, 1994, the first Boeing 777 prototype passed the rollout ceremony. The maiden flight was made on June 12, 1994. It was the beginning of an almost 12-month certification test program, the most intense in the company's history. There were 9 planes at once, equipped with engines of 3 manufacturers. The ETOPS certification was carried out at the same time. For this purpose, 8 3-hour flights with 1 engine off were performed. In 1995, the aircraft received certificates from the aviation authorities of the United States and Japan. Boeing 777 is a wide-body twin-engine airliner. Being a typical model in this class, the plane is its largest representative. The wing is designed for a flight speed of about Mach 0.84 or nearly 900 km per hour. To achieve maximum lift and capacity, the wing was given increased thickness and span. Unlike the other company's models, the Boeing 777 never had a standard large winglets. Instead, they applied horizontal wingtips with an increased sweep angle. According to Boeing's calculations for large airliners, such design, known now as raked wingtips, is more effective. Now their different variations can be seen on the Boeing 747-8 and of course on the Boeing 787. In the design of the wing and whole glider, quite widely for the time were used the composite materials, the share of which reached 9%. The aircraft is equipped with a classic 3-sets landing gear. The main undercarriage has 2 large bogies with 6 wheels each, which make this gear one of the largest in aviation. It allows 3 sets to effectively carry an aircraft, the mass of which is comparable with the mass of the early Boeing 747 modifications. Boeing 777 was the first airliner of the company equipped with a full operation fly-by-wire control system. The cockpit is equipped with a basic modern Boeing interface with LCD displays and of course the classic control yoke. The passenger cabin has the largest width in the class, reaching 5.86 meters, second only to the models 747 and A380. The standard configuration performs 6 seats in a row in a business class and 10 seats in a row in the economy class. Also, the Boeing 777, being an airplane for long-distance flights, is equipped with special recreation areas for crew members. These secret rooms are located in the upper part of the fuselage above the passenger cabin. The first 777-200 was delivered to United Airlines in May 1995. This model was the first and basic in the family. It accommodated... why I'm saying it in the past. It accommodates 305 passengers in a 3-class layout with a maximum of 440 people. Dash 200 has a range of 5,240 miles, or 9,700 kilometers. The plane quickly conquered the sky above the Atlantic and the Pacific. Already by 1998, airliners flew almost 1 million hours, and their operational reliability was on average 99%. Not bad for a newborn airplane. The success was obvious and Boeing decided not to lose any time. Model 777-200ER made its maiden flight in October 1996. The aircraft was almost 50 tons heavier and most of its mass was the fuel. Having a similar capacity, the aircraft increased its range to 7,000 miles or 13,000 kilometers. It's interesting that during the demonstration flight, the Malaysia Airlines plane of this model spent more than 21 hours in air and flew nearly 12,455 miles or 20,000 kilometers. But the range records were not the only factor of success. After the 200ER creation, Boeing started the development of a new, more capacious model with a stretched fuselage. So, the Boeing 777-300 appeared. At the time of its creation in 1997, this 74-meter-long airliner became the longest in the world. The plane's capacity reached 368 passengers in a 3-class configuration, with a maximum of the crazy 550. The range was not a record, but it still reached 6,000 miles, or over 11,165 kilometers. The plane already started operations in 1998. This Trinity is now considered to be the first generation. All of these airliners were equipped with various versions of GE-19, Trent 800 and PW4000 engines. The range increase did not end on the -200ER model. At the beginning of the whole project, Boeing explored the possibility of creating ultra-long-haul airliners. It was supposed to create an airplane with a shortened fuselage and an increased fuel capacity, similar to the 747 SP. However, this version couldn't contain enough passengers and was not considered competitive. The project was stopped. But in 1997, the company announced the modifications 777-200X and -300X. The aircraft needed new, more powerful engines. The new engines were developed by General Electric and Rolls-Royce. But the tender winner was GE, with their new GE90 engine, the thrust of which reached enormous 500 kilonewtons. In one of the previous videos I said that in comparison with the engines of the 747s, the old power plants were like vacuum cleaners. Now the same thing was repeated with the 777s. These monsters are almost twice as powerful as the early jumbo engines, and their size is comparable to the size of a narrow-body aircraft. Officially, the program was launched in early 2000s, and it was called the 777X. Well, Americans love this letter. Time for the project was not good. After the September 11 attacks and the contraction of the air transportation market, the work on the project also slowed down. The first aircraft of the new generation was the Boeing 777-300ER, which took off in 2003. The starting operator was Air France. The 300ER model was created rather quickly and in fact was the 300 model with implementations of the -200ER model solutions. The cabin and capacity of the aircraft did not change, and the takeoff weight increased by almost 52 tons. The range reached a new record of 7,370 miles, or over 13,650 kilometers. With such performance, the aircraft became a bestseller and an excellent replacement for obsolete 4-engine airliners. Having a similar capacity, it was much more efficient. The next model of the new generation was the Boeing 777-200LR, also known as the airliner, which passed the rollout ceremony in 2005. The aircraft accommodates the same number of passengers as the other -200 models, but it flies to a range over 8,500 miles or nearly 15,800 kilometers. In the late 2005, the aircraft broke the record of its older brother during the flight from Hong Kong to London at a distance of 21,600 kilometers in 22 hours 42 minutes. At this point, for some time, Boeing had calmed down. The final milestone of the generation was the creation of the 777F cargo version in 2008. This aircraft has the design and engines of the model -200LR, with a large cargo compartment for almost the entire length of the fuselage. Its flight range is quite modest, nearly 5,000 miles or 9,200 kilometers. But the aircraft is capable of carrying nearly 102 tons of cargo. Of course, there are some special versions. KC-777 is a strategic aerial tanker. It is developed to increase the Air Force capabilities in addition to the KC-767 refueling aircraft. 777 VIP version from the Boeing business jet family. The dream of any billionaire. The cabins of these airliners are made mainly by third-party contractors, which fairly extend the production time, but I think it's worth it. The 777 government modifications are being used as transport for state officials of Japan, the UAE and other countries. Previously, it was assumed that the special government versions of the -300ER or 777-9 could become the future Air Force One, but the choice of Air Force fell on the Boeing 747-8. In the beginning of the 21st century, the model 777 became Boeing's most profitable product in the wide-body class. The emergence of the second generation of airliners further increased demand. In 2007, the order book exceeded 350 units, the production line was loaded until 2012, and the amount of contracts almost reached $100 billion. Boeing decided to increase the production rate to 8 aircraft per month. In 2012, the Emirates received their next -300ER, and it was the 1000th airliner of the model 777. The total volume of orders for the second generation planes is predicted to be fulfilled by 2020, with the beginning of production of the third generation aircraft now being developed within the program 777X. Since the beginning of project and until the spring of 2018, Boeing has produced 1,553 aircraft. More than 1,387 aircraft of different versions are in operation. The top 3 operators include Emirates, United Airlines, and Air France. Now let's talk about the unpleasant moments of the life of any aircraft. By 2017, the Boeing 777 participated in 19 accidents, including 6 serious incidents that led to the deaths of 541 people. The first accident leading to the destruction of aircraft was the crash landing of the British Airways airliner at Heathrow Airport in 2008. The accident was caused by ice crystals suspended in the aircraft fuel system that caused the engine failure. As a result, the plane landed 270 meters away from the runway, which led to the destruction of the landing gear, wing elements and engines. 47 people were injured, but no one died. In 2013, there was an incident with the Asiana Airlines plane at the San Francisco airport. During the landing, the plane hit the runway and collapsed. 3 fatalities out of 307 people on board. In 2014, Malaysia Airlines plane, which carried 227 passengers and 12 crew members, disappeared during the flight from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. The plane haven't been found until now. Another disaster of 2014 was the destruction of the Boeing 777 of the same Malaysia Airlines that flew from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. During the flight in the airspace over the eastern Ukraine, the military crisis zone, the plane was shut down. 298 people died. The last and hopefully the final major incident with the Boeing 777 was the crash landing of the Emirates airliner at the Dubai airport. In the conditions of a strong lateral wind, during an unsuccessful landing, the aircraft touched the runway with its tail and engine, collapsed and caught fire. The crew and passengers were quickly evacuated, but when the fuel exploded, one firefighter died. Unpleasant stories. Also, I have to note that out of 541 fatalities, 537 relate to 2 disasters of Malaysian Airlines that occurred within 1 year. And the circumstances of both disasters are, putting it mildly, complicated. It has to be the end of the video, but I really love this plane and the audience with passions. So I have one more thing. Boeing 777X is the new 3rd generation of the 777 family. The installation of the newest engines, systems improvement and application of advanced technologies imply a significant increase in efficiency of the future Boeing flagship. The history of new generation began in 2010, when Airbus was developing the new A350. Despite the fact that the A350 is often called a competitor to the Boeing 787, it is bigger and occupies a niche of largest versions of 787 and 777 of the current generation. To maintain competition with the new European aircraft, a program of the plane's deep modernization was launched, planning an introduction to the market in 2019-2020. In 2015, the aircraft received the official designations 777-8 and 777-9. X remained only in the name of the program 777X. As a power plant, various options were offered from industry leaders. However, after long negotiations, in 2013 Boeing chose the model GE9X as an exclusive engine. Despite the protest from some operators against losing an option to choose the engines, this decision was considered more optimal. Adapting the aircraft to different power plants significantly increases the cost of development and manufacturing of already not so cheap planes. This is often not justified by the possibility of choosing between almost identical engines in terms of specifications. The Boeing 777X will receive a completely new composite wing with an increased span, similar in design to the 787 wing. Problem is that the old aircraft had a wingspan of 65 meters, and it is necessary to somehow preserve the opportunity to work with their infrastructure. To this purpose, engineers have decided to take an advantage of the experience of their friends from naval aviation. For civilian sectors, they've invented the new folding wingtips, which are at a span of as much as 7 meters, but after landing can be folded right back to the old 65 meters. The passenger cabin of the airliner will be enlarged by about 4 inches or 10 centimeters. This was made possible by the use of new materials, which allow to make the walls thinner. A significant part of the cabin elements will be inherited from the Boeing 787, including the enlarged windows, more spacious luggage shelves, optimal pressure and humidity. The GE9X engines, coupled with the new wing and other improvements, will have to increase the efficiency of the aircraft by about 12–13%. The Boeing 777X project involves the creation of two airliners, Dash 8 and Dash 9 models. The Boeing 777-8 is the shorter version of the new generation. In the two-class configuration, the aircraft will accommodate 350–375 passengers and fly at a distance of up to 8,700 miles or 16,100 kilometers. The aircraft is expected to be a direct competitor to the European Airbus A350-1000 and, according to Boeing, should be 4% more efficient. Boeing 777-9 will become the longest commercial airliner in the world, almost 77 meters. It will be the basic version, which will be assembled and presented first in 2019. In the two-class layout of the cabin, the airliner will accommodate 400–425 passengers. The flight range will be slightly reduced, reaching 7,600 miles or 14,000 kilometers. Someone will say that I didn't talk about all of versions. After the decommission of the Boeing 747, the new Boeing 777 will become the flagship of the company's line. At the same time, to ensure competition with the Airbus A380, Boeing is thinking about creating an extended version 777-10 in the future. It is assumed that the airliner will have a length of about 80 meters and accommodate about 450 passengers in a two-class configuration. Nevertheless, the model 777-10 was not yet officially announced. The starting customers will be Lufthansa, which placed an order for 20 planes of the Model 9. Next came the Qatar Airways, Etihad Airways, and of course Emirates. At the end of 2017, Boeing has a portfolio of orders for 53 777-8 and 277 777-9 airliners from 8 operators. The catalog cost of the liners will be $395 million for the Model 8 and $425 million for the Model 9. And this is it for today. I think that was an interesting 777 journey. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Fast flights and soft landings to you.